Not going to keep anybody in suspense. Welcome to truck 633418. Got this 2 days ago, and I started driving in it yesterday evening. Made it on the far side of Oklahoma, now I'm in Texas. Nice truck. I'm only going to be in this until the beginning of May. I took it for 6 months. It's a Freightliner, and it's black. It's the only truck that I got where when I picked it up, the batteries weren't dead. But I looked at the shape it was in, test drove it, and I'm like, I like it. So enough of that. Let's go with the topic. Some of you people would not remember who Dick Cheney is. He was the vice president for George W. Bush. And let's not forget, this man was a war criminal who died on the 3rd and cheated the hangman, which a lot of them have done. Another one that was a part of that cabinet was Donald Rumsfeld. But he died, I think, like 5-6 years ago. I can't remember. But all of them in that cabinet, with the exception of Colin Powell, the rest of them are all war criminals that need to be put on trial. Now, he's not that smart. Dick Cheney did not want to be his running mate before the election in 2000. But the agreement was when the shit goes down, they're going to throw W out there, but they're going to protect Cheney. Cheney was the CEO of Halliburton, which before it was called Halliburton during the 60s and part of the 70s, it was called Brown and Root. They have to change the name every now and then. Because when you trace that company, Brown and Root, to Halliburton, you chase that company heavily treasonous. Got a bunch of blank checks and made a lot of money for doing war crimes, cleaning them up. But I'm just wondering how many are going to cheat the hangman. Because we got one now, obviously going against the decision of the Supreme Court, which is against the law. And that right there is a blatant breaking of his oath and is an impeachable offense. There's a lot of impeachable defenses of this asshole we got as president. This one is by far the worst president we've ever had. But hopefully it's a lesson learned to the American people. And to those MAGA supporters, that's what you call a mandate yesterday. That wasn't a wave, that was a tsunami. The Democrats won every election across the board from coast to coast. That took place yesterday. Prop 50 overwhelmingly passed in California. So to think that you're the majority is a dream. You can think that, but in reality, you're not. Like I said, Trump won the majority of vote of less than 1/3 of registered voters. Over 2/3 of registered voters did not vote in that last election. So the majority of Americans did not vote for his ass. So you can get that out of your mind. The majority of voters, the silent majority, did not want either one of them, which would include me. I wanted Jill Stein, but everybody seems to they seem like they have to fall left or right. Well, what you call the left is not left, it's right wing. Need to get away from the Texas two-step, folks. Every 4 to 7 years, you lurch to the right. Every 4 to 8 years, you lurch to the left. And what has it gotten us? Right where we are right now today. Try to try something else because it's not working. Take lessons learned from other countries like in Europe, where they got anywhere between 9 to 12 political parties. Want freedom of choice, right? Well, it's not much of a freedom of choice if you only have two. The only reason why we have two is because the corporate elite and the rich designed it that way so they can bet on both horses. So it doesn't matter who wins, they still win. And then they still have their way. That's why the American working class has been taking it in the ass since I was born. I was born December of 70. And you think that, they've been wonderful to the worker. Give me one thing for the massive American working class that was positive that came out of DC since 1970. Ding, you can't do it. Because believe me, I tried. I'm serious. I really tried. The closest I came was August 15th, 1971. Richard Milhouse Nixon, Dick, got on the TV and he ordered a wage price freeze, which a president can do. And you know what? That ended the bad inflation that was going on back then, just like what we have today. They know this. They just don't want to take those steps that'll fix the problem. Did it happen here in America? Yeah. Did it work? Yeah. Do you know about it? No. No. And why is that? Because they have to manufacture your consent to vote against your own interests. And they've done a hell of a job at that. They're trying to put their finger on what made America great. I can tell you, real easy. FDR, 1933. He went to the rich folks and said, look, we ain't got any money. We're in a massive depression since 1929. It's going on almost 4 years. Millions of people out of work. Now you need to give me the money so I can take care of the massive American people. Or these people are going to have a revolution and they're going to make sure you ain't got any money to give me. So they did. And he knew the rich folks. He said, either give me some of it or they're going to take all of it from you. Yes, there were two threats of revolution against FDR. That was one of them. The American Communist Party, the two socialist parties, the Trotskyist type socialist party, and the old socialist party, one left over from before. American Communist Party, two socialist parties worked with the CIO, the Congress of Industrial Unions. They had millions of people. It was a coalition that went to FDR, and that was the movement from below he needed. That motivated Roosevelt to do what he did. Came right before the American people. You're 65 years old, or here's a check for the rest of your life, and you can live off of it. The whole purpose was it so you can live off of it in your senior years. You can't possibly live off of it now, but back then you could. It was paid for by the money he got from the rich. But a couple years after he did all that, Social Security was one, Medicare was one of them, went with it, minimum wage. unemployment insurance, all that stuff. That's what created the middle class in this country. But what boosted it was this. A year later, 1934, goes up before Congress. He goes, I propose we tax corporations and the rich 100%. Usually I get laughter when I say that. It's true. 100% over a certain amount. Back then, it would be the equivalent to about $400,000. Anything more than that, you ain't getting it. So you can tell the Congress went ballistic, especially the Republicans. So they came back with a counter offer. How about 94%? Roosevelt said, done. He signed it. Now, keep in mind, Roosevelt just became president 2 years before. Now, mind you, think about this for a minute. The man who taxed corporations and the rich, 94%, was reelected 3 times. And we got one in there that's so goddamn delusional, thinking he's the most popular president ever, and people believe it. I'm like, dude, you don't know FDR. You ain't even come close. Matter of fact, you're the antithesis of FDR. Your dad and all the other Republicans back then attacked the New Deal that we got in 1933, and all of it's gone. They used to tax corporations and the rich, 94%. And in the 1970s, it was 71%. And then here comes the 80s, it went to 35%. Now that's a tax cut. You American people will never see a tax cut like that. And as they got tax cuts like that, when 1980 hit, that's when the wages remained stagnant. But production and corporate profits went through the roof. And most people are worried about welfare, and they get bailouts when they need it, $1 billion bailouts. AIG back in 2008, and yet those MAGA supporters are worried about welfare queens. Well, about how many are there? That's like a mugger trying to rob you and arguing over how many pennies he can get out of your shoe. Are you serious? That's not good. I'm trying to read the chat. Oh, yeah. But now we got people going into Walmarts, grabbing carts full of groceries and trying to walk out with it. Now, I understand when it comes to the point where you're out of food and you got children to feed and everything else, yeah, that's what happens. Intelligence tells you that. It won't start right away, but it starts off slow and it accelerates at a rapid rate. It, banditry. You're going to get it in one way or other. I don't care how decent of a life you live. If you just lost everything and you have no means to buy food for your family, yeah, eventually you're going to get to that point too. You're going to do what it takes to put food in your family's mouth. And to me, that's a crime in itself. To starve people, and it's morally incorrect. And these people want to claim that they're all Christian like and try to out Jesus you, but and yet they take delight in people's torture. That's what you call a sadist. Ah, yeah, I really can't read chat because I'm driving. But I'll read it on the replay, Ian. But thank you guys for coming, and hopefully you learned something. But I'm telling you, good things happened yesterday, but that's just small. The big one that I'm happy about is Mendani winning the mayoral race in New York. Overwhelmingly won it. He won it by 1.5 million votes. Now, if Donald Trump is listening, Donald, that is a landslide, sir. I think there were like 3 or 4 different people trying to run for mayor of New York, and he got 63% of the vote in a 4-way race. That's a landslide. And if I was Mandani, first thing I would do is I'd seize Trump Tower. And I'd say, I'm claiming eminent domain. Oh, yeah, I'd make Trump's life miserable. Can they do that? Oh, yeah. And will the New Yorkers support him? Oh, yeah, overwhelmingly. It's already been shown. You think people are going to feel sorry for Donald Trump? Maybe a handful. Out of how many? In the 5 boroughs in New York City, I think the last count, there's like maybe 20 to 22 million people. Well, Annie, just to let you know, if you talk, you're like, I got a lot of friends from Europe, okay? And they will tell you, looking at our political system here in America, they'll laugh and say, you don't have a left. You can call it the left, but you don't have a left over in the United States. You have 2 right wing parties. One's more extreme than the other. Because when Bill Clinton became president, he moved the Democratic Party to the right because he was winning a lot of corporate interest money. And the right saw that he did that. They moved further to the right. It went crazy. Look at it today. It's painfully obvious. That's why I say, whatever comes out of this administration's mouth, believe the opposite. And what they accuse people of is what they're doing. I read about this reading Reichsmarshal Goering's biography. You blame the other side for things you're guilty of. You keep repeating things, and then people will start believing it because you keep repeating it. But Dick Cheney, that's chickens coming home to roost. All the people that died in 9/11, he has to answer for. And his decision making down in the White House bunker while it was going on. And W. Bush was at a kindergarten class reading My Pet Goat, which is an irony because I'm a Cubs fan. And by the way, he was reading My Pet Goat upside down. He was holding the book upside down, but he was just staring off into space because he knew there were things moving that he couldn't control. And he wasn't so sure that he made the right decision or he went along with it. But Dick Cheney knew. W made no decisions, but Cheney did. And Colin Powell was a part of the cabinet, yes. Former General Colin Powell. Him and Cheney hated each other. Colin Powell didn't like him during HW, Daddy Bush's term in office right after Reagan. Dick Cheney and Colin Powell didn't like each other then. He hated him because Cheney was a piece of shit. But I'm going to end this live stream with one thing that I learned when I was over in Japan. Good words of philosophy. And this is what I would have told Cheney before he died. Death comes for us all. But what's pitiful, for when you die, it'll be without honor. People don't forgot about him, don't care about him. But I still want the answers. Sure, he could still be charged and everything else. I want that to happen. But he did cheat the hangman. There's still some of them still alive that need to be tried. We got a lot of war criminals running around. Currently now, too. From both parties. But you guys have a good day. Hope your next days are better ones, but I'm trying to be optimistic. Well, he may not like Trump, but that still doesn't mean he wasn't a piece of shit himself. He committed a lot of atrocities and war crimes. Dick Cheney did. I'd say a lot worse than Trump did. They may not seem as impactful to the people here in the States as Trump is to people here in the States. But it was a lot worse under Cheney. But you guys have a good day. You have a good day.